Welcome back, guys, or if you're new to my channel, this is Automotive Anonymous, and this is a comparison review between the 2025 Chevy Trailblazer in the all-new color for this year, Marina Blue Metallic, and the Subaru Crosstrek. This one is a premium with the 2-liter, which is the smaller engine for the Crosstrek. Meanwhile, the Trailblazer LS with all-wheel drive has the larger 1.3-liter turbo 3-cylinder engine. But basically, these are both compact crossovers. They both are just under 15 feet long. They both have a payload capacity of 900 pounds or just over. They weigh around 3,300 pounds. They are both a 5-star crash test rated vehicle, and they both have all-wheel drive and a lot of other things in common. But is that where the similarities end? Because there are quite a few differences between how these compact crossovers go about their business. The Crosstrek with the 2-liter, it's assembled in Japan and then shipped over to the United States. The Trailblazer, it's actually assembled in South Korea before it is shipped over to the United States. These both sell at least 100,000 units most model years in North America, and they are both very popular vehicles. So today I get to review them for you guys, and huge thanks to Twin Falls Subaru and the Twin Falls Chevy for letting me borrow their vehicles for the day. Both of these dealerships, they sell below MSRP and they ship all over the country. So check them out. I'll leave them in the description below. Otherwise, let's dive right into this video. And if you guys like either of these brands, either of these models, or even my video, please consider liking my video. That small act of kindness really goes a long way in helping me know you want to watch more stuff like this. But it'll also help you by having YouTube choose to show you more videos like this, and I really appreciate your kindness. Thank you for your thoughts, and while you're there, maybe consider commenting your opinions below. Subscribe if you haven't already. Anyways, now let's get right into it. I think we need to take just a minute to talk about each of these crossovers. The Subaru, for starters, this is the 3rd generation of the Crosstrek. It came out last year for 2024, so the 2024 models have been around for quite a while. The 2025 ones should be surfacing anytime. This one specifically is a 2024, but chances are there's going to be basically no changes for the 2025 model year, other than maybe a hybrid configuration coming out. But Subaru has been kind of keeping a closed lip on what they're doing with the hybrid trim level. So if you're new to the Crosstrek and you like this body style, basically this miniature wagon to what the Outback is while being built off of the Impreza platform, it's actually a pretty good vehicle. These sometimes sell, you know, in the mid 150,000 unit ballpark every single year. The 2-liters like this, like the base and the premium, they're actually assembled in Japan, where things seem to be assembled very well. And the 2.5-liters, those are assembled in the United States. So the assembly plant is going to differ depending on which trim level you want, which there's about 5 trim levels between the base to the limited, the sport, the premium, the wilderness, and everything else in between. But this being the premium, it actually is a pretty good vehicle in Silica Black Metallic. I actually used to own a Horizon Blue Crosstrek for about 2 years, 40,000 miles. I didn't have a single issue with it, and I liked what this offered. Having over 20 cubic feet in the trunk for cargo capacity, having 8.7 inches of ground clearance, it really did a lot of things well, and the only reason I got rid of it was it was time to upgrade to the larger Subaru Outback. But they are a really nice vehicle, and even the base models, which this again is not a base, it's a premium, so it's the 2nd lowest trim level. It's already discounted to about $27,000 from Twin Falls Subaru. It has bright LED headlights and fog lights. It has the 3-camera eyesight system. It has roof rails included, and a whole bunch of safety features like adaptive cruise, lane keep assist, pedestrian braking, just so many things that you get for well under $30,000 in today's market. So there's really no surprise why so many people love their Subaru Crosstreks. Meanwhile, the Marina Blue paint color on this Trailblazer is definitely the better of the 2 colors, at least in my opinion, but that's only my opinion, no more valid than yours. But I like how these look. It's definitely taking after the typical design language of what the modern Chevys are, where everything looks aggressive. Everything has the headlights a little bit lower than the daytime running lights and the turn signals, and I actually think it looks pretty good. So these are assembled in South Korea. The VIN number starts with a K. That's where they're made for the North American market. They're also sold in Canada and Mexico, and then a few other markets around the world, which those ones are probably made in China because Chevy actually has a pretty big influence in China. But they're pretty popular. It sold 60,000 units, I believe, in 2022. And then for the finalized year of 2023, it sold about 110. And 2024 models are still being sold right now, so I don't think those numbers are finalized quite yet. But it's a pretty good vehicle. It's about the same size as the Crosstrek, just under 15 feet long, 6 feet wide, 5.5 feet tall. It has about 1 inch less ground clearance than the Crosstrek, about 7.5. But what I like about this one is it has all-wheel drive, and you can turn that on and off. So if you want a little bit better MPG, turn it off. If you are on slippery conditions, turn it on. It overall is a really nice shape, a really nice design, and I like that the roof stays high for longer. A little bit more so than the Crosstrek, where the Crosstrek kind of looks like a wagon. It doesn't have as drastic of a hatch as the Outback, but overall, they are both very good vehicles. They both do offer a lot, and just like the Crosstrek, the Trailblazer has a lot of safety features: blind spot monitoring, lane keep assist, adaptive cruise, and quite a few other features. But the higher trim levels are going to have higher options, which mostly include luxurious options. Thankfully, both of these automakers are including a lot of the safety stuff as standard to take care of you and your family. But if you don't want the bigger engine, which is a 1.3 liter, really, should that be in the same phrase as bigger engine? Well, technically, when the base engine is a 1.2 liter. So this one being the bigger 1.3 liter, it makes 155 horsepower. The 1.2 liter makes 137, whereas the Crosstrek, the base 2 liter naturally aspirated one that the Subaru here has, it's about 152 horsepower, and then the larger one is about 182. So right now I have specs that compete fairly similarly for size, for pricing. They're both in the $27,000 ballpark after their big discounts currently offered, and they both have about 150 horsepower. Under the hood, these both have their pros and cons. So we're going to start the Trailblazer with the 1.3 liter, which under the hood really doesn't look a whole lot different than the 1.2 liter. You have your reservoirs on the periphery, the battery, the fuse box, your induction. It goes around to the turbo right in the back, which these Ecotec turbo engines are actually really easy to find the turbos. Usually they're right up front, and there's probably a good amount of room to work under here. Hopefully it's a pretty reliable engine. Being only 3 cylinders, not having as many moving parts, I can't imagine it's overly complex, but I would imagine like the timing belt and some of that stuff you might have to change more frequently than something like the timing chain, which is permanent on the Subaru for the most part. 155 horsepower, and it wins in the torque department at 174, which kicks in at about 1600 RPM. So it actually makes pretty good power down low. But this is a larger 2 liter naturally aspirated engine. And under the hood, the Crosstrek, while being a bigger engine physically, it actually looks more spacious and more roomy than what we had on the Chevy. So although there is quite a bit of room under here, and if you pop off the engine cover, you'll see more physical components, this just is such a well designed, with the boxer engine being flatter and longer at the bottom. You have all of your accessories up top. So you have your fuse box, you have your battery, you have all of your reservoirs and top mount oil filter right there, alternator front mounted or rear-wheel drive type of setup. So you have the serpentine belt right here, versus look at how complex and hidden away that is on the passenger side. You can't even really see it from where I'm at. You just see the vibration from how this engine is balanced. But the Crosstrek, it seems to be idling a little bit smoother. And there's pros and cons to both of these. So this one might be a tiny bit down on power compared to that, but I would imagine that this engine might last longer. And while Subaru probably makes the best CVT in the business, I'm not sure that the CVT in this will last as long as the 9-speed in that. But they both have their pros and cons, and I like them both for different reasons. I don't necessarily think that one hatch looks better than the other. They're just different. They both have everything you need: a big badge signifying what it is, some silver lettering and names on it for the model, sometimes even the trim level, and all-wheel drive emphasized on this one because you can have just a front-wheel drive one, which is why the engine is transversely mounted in front-wheel drive focus. But neither of these $27,000 crossovers have a power liftgate. Thankfully, it lifts up pretty easy. The hatch opens quite a bit higher than the roof, so keep that in mind when you're opening it in your garage. It's easy to reach if you have decent range of motion. And back here, the storage capacity on this one wins. It's about 25 cubic feet, but when you drop the seats, it equals out to the Subaru in the mid-50s. You have an incandescent light and not a lot of other stuff back here. You do have a floor that can change height depending on if you want it on the higher or the lower setting. You have a temporary spare with all of your tools, just like you'll see what we have on the Crosstrek. But it's nice that you have a few extra cubic feet than what you have back here, which the hatch also fairly easily opens to probably about the same height as the Chevy, and the shape of it's a little bit different. It might have a little bit more distance for the loading floor, but well, maybe it's not quite, because the bumper actually extends down further there. So I'd say that that's about a wash overall. You have all-weather mats not yet installed. You have an incandescent light right there. You have a few more bag clips and tie downs on this one. And then under the all-weather mat, you do have the same setup, basically a spare tire and some scissor jack and components to help you change the tire if you ever have to. Otherwise, pretty easy to reach and to lower down. The shocks do a good job to help you lift each of these vehicle hatches, but they don't fight you too hard to lower them back down. This is just the most random side note, but you guys have probably already been able to tell on camera. We're in the very final days of summer where there are literally bugs everywhere. I don't know why they like the Subaru so much, even more so than they like the Trailblazer, but they're literally everywhere. And thankfully, they will all go extinct pretty soon as the colder temperatures come in. But if we hop inside the driver's seat of the Trailblazer, door panel for $27,000 is about what you expect. Cheaper plastic materials, nice door card for your arm to lean against, but overall there's nothing too fancy here. And then down here, you actually have all weather mats, just like the Subaru. You have cloth seats, no heating, no sunroof, nothing like that, but you do have some storage. You have the hood release, you have some pedals that are rubberized, OBD 2-port, you have your lighting, stock ventilation, more lighting options. And if we sit inside here, and it's actually already fired up, you'll see that it idles a little bit less than 1,000 RPM. The horn is probably as high-pitched as a smart car. Visibility is okay. It's not fantastic. The windows just are not that big, if you guys can tell. But because it's only 14.5 feet long, you really can see down it and out the side windows pretty well. The screen looks really fancy, but it's actually not that impressive. One of the 4 tabs is basically the normal information that you would find in that gauge. But when I use this button to go through the center, it really doesn't give me anything. There's really not a lot to it. But down here, you actually have physical climate controls, good ventilation. It's actually really cold in here right now. Plug-in C and B style USBs, some storage. You have a lot of options here. Auto start, stop, lane keep assist, traction on and off. You have sport mode, which is kind of funny on a 1.3 liter. And then you have the all-wheel drive engage button, which you can mechanically hear it engage, which is kind of cool. The backup camera wins in the Chevy. Trajectory lines do move. Clarity is pretty good, and I can see some more of those gnats flying around back there. Kind of interesting. Otherwise, you have some cup holders. You have electronic parking brake. You have a storage box right there. And then you have a lifty tray right here, but a very thin, narrow center console without really anything in it. Otherwise, up here, you just have incandescent lighting. This does not have an extension or slide. There's not even a mirror on this one. But for about $27,000, honestly, I don't think you can complain too much. And although I used to own a Crosstrek for a couple years, it really feels like it's been a long time since I've been in one of these, because all of my 2024 reviews were over a year ago, because the 2025s have not yet hit the lot, but still, there shouldn't be many differences. So the door panel in this, it looks very similar to a lot of other Subaru products. Big door card that kind of follows the same theme up to the top. It's probably a little bit nicer material, definitely nicer armrest than what the Chevy has, but the bottle and snack holder, if anything, don't seem to be any larger. Speakers, they sound okay, they're not fantastic. Otherwise, you don't really have any options on this Premium. You have the hood release, a little fuse box right here, rubberized pedals, but you also have a rubberized dead pedal. Remember, the rubberized mats are in the trunk, not yet installed. This is the manually adjusted seat. Again, no power moonroof up top. One thing that is probably ultimately good, but also quite annoying, is the Subaru. Even though I'm sitting in the seat, I'm in park, it is still beeping relentlessly. So we're gonna have to put on the seat belt to get that thing to shut up. Both of these do have tilt and telescoping wheels. This Crosstrek actually has paddle shifters. It still has a plastic steering wheel that's not heated, not leatherized like the other one. But you have info controls through the center more so than what the Chevy has. And basically that was that third tab on the screen is what you have through this info button. And then you have adaptive cruise, sport, and intelligent mode right here. Sport mode is basically like the track mode you saw on the Chevy. The horn, I like that it extends down here. It's also pretty high pitched. But you have a few cool options up here, things you can look at. I do think that physical ventilation is better than everything controlled through the screen. You still have to turn off auto start stop if you don't appreciate that feature, and it doesn't feel like it's integrated super well into this system. It's kind of abrupt on the Boxers, and then because the engine is so small in that Chevy, it's less noticeable. The windows are also bigger on this than they are on the Chevy. The Chevy looks like it sits up higher, but that's always just the illusion. Maybe the ground is actually on level here, but it's also kind of the illusion when you're sitting in a car that other cars sometimes look bigger than you. Visibility, fantastic. I do think it's better than the Chevy. This one you can see is basically the exact same price as the other vehicle. And the backup camera, it's a bit grainy. It's gonna look even grainier and more reflective on camera because of the screen protector on this right now. But you have your electronic parking brake, you have some plugins, a large space right here, some cup holders, a 12 volt, and then a slightly larger, wider center console with like an old school CD tray that they never eliminated when they got rid of the CD player. And then this one has LED lighting. It also has an extension piece, and it has an LED light right there, so there are a few higher end features on the interior of this one. But if you have kids or your parents or your friends and people you're going to be driving around in the back seat, you want to make sure that they're comfortable. The window on this, pretty small, barely even fits the Monroney sticker. Basically all the same black handles, the lock, nothing really to talk about back here. This is where Chevy does save a little bit of their money, but the bench seat is actually really comfortable. And a 5'11", you'll see I fit back here pretty nicely. You have the child safety tether right there. You also have slits where you can access it down there. And sitting inside here with my butt all the way back in the seat, I have pretty good room in front of my knees. Nothing back here to plug into to cool me down, anything like that. No armrest. It is actually pretty easy to reach into the back cargo capacity. Again, you'll see kind of a smaller window. You have a handle and you have incandescent light up there. But overall, it's not too bad for a full-size adult back here. Subarus are traditionally really nice for their back seat area. The door panel basically looks like the same type of design as the front. You know, not the fanciest materials, but still they do feel a little bit better, or they look a little bit nicer than the Chevys. And you have some grade right here to give you some grip if you have to step up to the roof rails, which the Chevy does not have. It also has the old school antenna sticking out compared to just the shark fin right there. But the back seat, it actually looks really nice, really comfortable. Subaru cloth seats are super lightweight, easy to move around. You also have the access point for the anchors back there. So sitting inside here, behind my driver position, I'm missing the map pocket that I got on the Chevy, but I think I have more knee room right here. I also have some plug-ins, and I even have a fold-down armrest, which the Chevy did not have. Anyways, let's hop out and finish this video up. My final thoughts of these compact crossovers, that even after taxes and dealer fees, they likely cost less than $30,000, especially if they're discounted from MSRP to about $28,000. Right now, they're both all-wheel drive. They both have about 150 horsepower, 5-star crash test rated options, lots of safety features that are active and passive, and they both have just an overall nice appearance, nice stance. They have pretty good reliability, at least from what we know about them so far. The Subaru platform has been around for longer, but Chevy also mass produces a lot of their small engines. Most of them seem to be easy to work on. They seem to be fairly reliable and pretty straightforward. You can also always find information on the forums if you do try to save a little bit of money and do some of the maintenance yourself down the road. But overall, I don't know that there's a distinct winner. I think these are both good. I think the people who like them are going to like them for the different reasons that they are distinguished by. But overall, I think they're good options. 30 grand is not cheap, but in today's market, that's about 2/3 what the average new car costs. In fact, that's about what the average used vehicle transaction is. So you might want to consider a brand new vehicle with a warranty instead of potentially gambling on a vehicle that someone else decided to get rid of for some reason or another. And anyways, guys, if you got anything out of this video, and if you have a favorite one, please comment that below. Like this video if you got anything out of it and you want to watch more stuff like this, and subscribe if you haven't already. Otherwise, check out the Twin Falls Subaru and the Twin Falls Chevy if you want a discounted vehicle shipped to you. Or if you want to do a road trip, anything, it's up to you. You're the boss. See you next time.